Cope Queens, Episode 8, Reality Check. This is the final episode in our 8-part series, Black and Depressed. In this episode, we discuss the ridicule that many still face whenever they decide to be vulnerable enough to share their mental health issues and experiences. This is our opportunity to normalize mental health issues and begin the conversations and take action to annihilate the stigma that prevents many of us from seeking the help that we truly need. You're listening to the Cope Queens podcast, where every Wednesday, co-hosts Elaina Jones and Tracy Hampton challenges mental health stigmas through sharing personal experiences, storytelling, interviews, and roundtable discussions about everyday life challenges. This podcast in no way is a replacement for mental health treatment. To learn more, please visit copequeens.com. Now, without further ado, let's cope together. There's still this stigma that if you openly admit that you have a mental impairment, there's something wrong with you. You shouldn't discuss that. I don't know if it's a lack of awareness or just a lack of acceptance.
Yeah, I struggle with that too. I don't know where it comes from. I know a lot of times we relate most to those things that we have experience with. And I don't know if it's folks don't have experience with certain mental health issues and it makes them less empathetic to those who do, or maybe if they've heard about signs and symptoms of mental illness haphazardly and they really don't understand it. So when they encounter someone with it, or if someone decides to be vulnerable, it makes them a prime target for attack. I think me and you were talking about, it was a couple of weeks ago when I was mentioning to you, I was on Twitter, and how there was that whole attack on that young singer, Summer Walker. She came out and said she deals with social anxiety. And just looking at the comments on her Twitter feed where people were like, well, you shouldn't be an entertainer. And why are you wearing a thong if you suffer from a mental illness? And I'm like, are you kidding me? So it's like people have these preconceived ideas on what a person who struggles with mental illness looks like, what they should act like. And there's really not that one symptom or this whole framework of a person who has a mental illness. And I think that's probably one thing that I think society struggles with.
As human beings, tend to fear what we don't understand. And we know that fear can lead to some of these hateful behaviors. So to attack someone who says that they have social anxiety, and yeah, okay, they're an entertainer. So if you're an entertainer, you're supposed to be immune.
Exactly.
I mean, think about what Ariana Grande went through with that shooting. Was it Vegas? She suffered from PTSD after that. So she's supposed to just quit? I think the thing that really gets to me is it's not even someone admitting that they have an issue. It's the reaction that people give to that. So it's when people don't act in support. So let me ask a question. So you said her name was Summer Walker. Okay. Summer Walker says she has social anxiety and she's been in a thong and she's been on stage and she's a performer, whatever the situation is. How does any of that impact your life for you to comment negatively?
Exactly. One reason why I try to stay off social media when I
kind of want to get you on a couch and ask you some questions and find out what's wrong with you.
Exactly.
Because I don't, for anyone that attacks somebody on social media, it's like, okay, how does what they're doing impact your life?
Exactly.
That would bring out that much anger.
But I think it still comes back to what we were talking about around the whole just mental illness and people having this perception of what they think it is and how they think people should act. Yeah. And if they don't fit that mold, they feel that they're entitled to make judgment calls about them. We were talking about just the awareness and how brave people who suffer from mental illnesses, how brave they are just by admitting it and trying to make people aware. And it's like when you get that kind of backlash from people, it scares away others who want to come out and bring that awareness and share what they're struggling with. Because if you're suffering from depression, anxiety, PTSD, whatever, at the end of the day, do you really want to see a bunch of comments on your Twitter or Facebook feed with people adding to that?
Right. Yeah, really and it just takes me back to why do you feel that passionately about it?
You know, those
Like, you need
internet
to go
gangsters. You already know.
like, you need to go get you a coloring book. You need to go get
Exactly.
you a eucalyptus candle.
Or get you a thong,
Go
since she's
get
so worried about her thong. Get you a thong.
See? There go my peaches.
I'm
Only
sorry.
peaches gonna tell somebody. Only peaches will tell
Oh my
somebody to go
God.
get them a thong.
Here we go. See, I've been trying to keep her contained. Trying to keep her contained, but no.
See, that's one of the reasons why I had pulled back from social media, because I don't want to hear everybody's opinion.
Exactly.
The other day I was having this conversation with my daughter, and I said something to her. There's a saying that says, what other people think about you is not your business. And she was like, well, yes, it is. I was like, no, actually it's not, because let them think whatever it is they're going to think, because you know who you are.
Yes.
But it's hard to remember that when you're on a public platform and you have all these people, all these strangers who don't know you coming at you. And I think maybe that's the thing that we have to remember. These are, what's the term, trolls? See, I'm
Yes.
not even that
Yes.
down with social media to know. Like, why do I care what a troll thinks? Like, you think what you want to think, because the better question again is, what's wrong in your life
Exactly.
that you feel that passionate about being negative to me? I've done nothing to you. We've never even met.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so funny you mentioned your daughter, because I think that's who I worry about, the most, just teenagers in general. Because at that age, when you're a teenager, because I have a teenager at home too, that's their whole life. What your friends think,
Yep.
how people perceive you. I think about the impact that can have on a young person, especially a young person that may be struggling with mental health issues.
Yeah, it absolutely breaks my heart when I hear that someone took their life because they were being bullied on the internet.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
Like, that,
Yes.
to me, that's just,
It's heartbreaking.
yeah, it is. It truly, truly is. And again, it's like, I just want to get to the other person and be like, what is so miserable in your life? When Kaya was younger, we talked about bullies. I said, well, here's the thing that you have to know about bullies. They typically don't like themselves, or they see something in you that they're envious of. We grew up in a different time, and we moved a different way.
We grew up in a whole different time, where we grew up in a time where you were able to defend yourself. And sometimes you can actually become friends. I have someone that I think I had a fight with when I was in maybe third grade. And as adults, it's something you laugh at now. But nowadays, people are getting their feelings hurt, and it's escalating. And I don't know where that stems from.
Educate ourselves enough, and we don't educate our children enough to understand different mental illnesses. And we need to do better, because I look at bullies. I'm not just talking about a kid that said something mean one day, or I'm not just talking about an office jerk that was in a bad mood that ate the last bagel. When I'm talking about somebody that picks a target and goes after them, sort of like these trolls, like they picked a target and they went after them, and they do repeated attacks, whether it's verbal, whether it's physical, whatever it is. I'm talking about that person. I don't think we do enough as a society in managing those behaviors. I think we ignore them. If they were educated to deal with their emotions and their feelings, and if I have somebody to talk through with that, we would have less bullies.
Yeah, I agree. You just brought up a really good point, and it had me thinking all that stems from people not really understanding how to process emotions. One, how it's okay to feel your feelings and talk about negative thoughts and things like that. And I'm wondering if junior high, high school, what about a discussion about mental health and how important that self-care is, and it's okay to feel your emotions instead of taking it out on others, or not really understanding mental health and what that looks like. I don't know. It just feels like there needs to be that awareness and introduction really early on.
You mentioned junior high or high school, and I think it should start earlier. We as adults have to be educated in order to educate kids. And there should be some type of curriculum in schools. They have health class. You talk about hygiene and you talk about puberty, and I think they do talk somewhat about emotions as far as what they're feeling and going through puberty, but I don't think it's enough. I don't think that we're having enough of the right conversations at the right stage of life.
I'm pretty sure it's evolved since I was in school because we didn't talk about any of that. It was the basics. I won't tell you how long ago that was.
You
But
got the one where you got the menstrual cycle video with the little girl that played Annie, because that's what we watched.
No, I missed out with thank God.
That's what we
Thank
got.
God.
We got that video. It was like, oh yeah, Annie got her period. Great.
Oh my God. Now you're telling your age. People are like, who's Annie?
Not talking about the movie with Jamie Foxx.
The original Annie.
Girl, I'll never forget that video. I think we saw that video like the 5th grade.
Oh my God.
I know that we're just two people having a conversation. Maybe 20 other people will listen to. And I just hope that if we all have the conversation with somebody, that the conversation just spreads. Like, you have to start somewhere. And we know that as a society and as a culture, when you think about African American communities, we have to do better.
Yeah.
We have to do better. Depression is not just sadness. Depression is not just being bitter or unhappy. So we have to do better as a culture. We have to do better as a society. We have to have the conversations earlier.
Absolutely. And we have to let go the whole image of what we think we should be, that strong Black woman or that strong Black man. And I think we have to allow ourselves to be vulnerable and just be open. I think that come into play with it. But I think it's a conversation we need to start having.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing, I don't think that many of us will be open unless we start seeing a trend towards more of us being accepted. We have to annihilate the stigma, and we have to start caring about each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I think that's a great point, the caring about each other.
I don't see what the point is of going on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram and attacking somebody that I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, where do you people find time?
I was just going to say that.
Because obviously I'm doing something wrong because I don't have the time nor the energy to do something like that. Like, do you all work? You guys have jobs? I'm going to go back to the issue that you were talking about earlier, because when we first talked about it, you mentioned a lot of adult women that were attacking her.
Yeah, I believe when Summer did respond back to them, and in her response, can't remember exactly what she said. I'm not that hip to be following her, but I did kind of skim it. But she mentioned that Summer, you guys are mom. And when she made that comment, I'm saying to myself, yeah, that's scary. Because if you're a mother that's attacking a young woman about her mental health issues, how are you reacting to your own kids when they come to you because they're struggling with mental health issues?
But the thing is that we don't acknowledge his mental health issues. We just say, oh, baby, you're just having a bad day. Go take a nap. But to those that do feel the need to troll,
read a book.
Go
color.
Right, go color.
Meditate.
Get you a glass of wine and chill out somewhere. Because that's really all the energy that I have for it is to have my glass of wine and color. I don't have time for anything else outside of work, raising a child, going to school, doing this podcast. Find a hobby. That's what you need to do. Get a hobby.
Yes.
We have to do better. So consider this our reality check. We're starting the conversation. It's just a start, but we can't let the conversation end here. We have to continue the conversation, and we have to figure out how to take action. We have to change this. The stigma, it's time to annihilate it. It's time to be done with it. If someone or someone comes to you, them having difficulties balancing out their emotions or their feelings does not make them crazy. Get them support. Stop judging people. We have to do better.
Yeah.
So if you have any suggestions on how we can start doing better, please reach out to us. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook, or you can find us on Instagram, or you can visit copequeens.com. Take care, everybody.
Bye. You've reached the end of another episode of the Cope Queens podcast. Thank you for coping with us today, and we hope you'll join us for the next episode. Until then, connect with us on Twitter at Cope Queens.